On this episode of By the Wayside, the show that is dedicated to introducing you to creative people, I get the opportunity to speak with comedian Daniel Shaw, and we ask the serious question, is comedy harder than parenting? Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. It's just one of those weird things. So, because you might say you want to be stand-up comedian or internet hilariaton. That's mine, don't use that.
Okay, I was gonna, yes, that one.
Internet hilariaton. Welcome back to this episode of By the Wayside. Like I had teased at the beginning of the episode, I found, Daniel, that I've been saying teased a lot. It's, it's just kind of just the tip of the episode. I like to tease who's going to be on the episode. That was a long introduction. With me today, of course, is comedian Daniel Shaw. Daniel, thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
I'm happy to be in a comic book store.
Usually I don't ask this question, but why are you happy to be in a comic book store?
I turned 40 this year, and I think my midlife crisis has turned into just I'm buying comic books. And I wasn't buying comic books when I was a kid. I liked comic books. And then the first thing I started doing was just trying to find the comic books I had as a kid, which turned into, well, I also like this. And then I'm starting to just, it went too far at one point, and I'm reeling back now.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, every episode of By the Wayside is recorded at WAYSIDE Comics Cocktails in Newmarket, Ontario. So
Yes.
Just a little plug for the shop, so make sure you come and check it out. I'm going to make sure that Daniel buys something while he's here. Thanks, Daniel. Daniel, I don't know if anyone wakes up and says, I want to do comedy. Was there a moment that you knew this was something that you wanted to do?
I don't know if there's a moment. I think it was like comedy's always been, I don't know if it's a coping mechanism or something I've just been I was always interested in listening to comedy, and I enjoyed it. I didn't know that there was a route to become a comic or anything like that. It was sort of a slow roll into wanting to do it, wanting to be funny. What is the outlet that I would like to do?
Yeah.
Would I like to do improv? Acting terrifies me. I don't like doing it. I don't think I'm a good actor. I don't really have any interest in it. But just being funny in a way, or finding a space, and comedy seemed very freeing, and it's you alone. It's not you relying on someone else. It's your idea and putting it out there. And
so you would say that you don't want to be an actor, but when you're on stage doing your comedy, are you yourself, or do you kind of become a different person, if that makes any sense, how I'm wording that?
Yeah, totally. Like when I started, I was doing very deadpan one-liners, and I would do that just because it was easy to not show emotion. Because again, I'm a bad actor. I don't want to be doing this. But over time, I've sort of developed a character of who I am on stage. It's not intentional. It's just like an exaggerated version of myself. And I can pull that off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times when you go to a social gathering do people say, oh, you're a comedian, tell me a joke?
Every time. It's horrible. And I say no every single time. I say, this is the most awkward situation you've put me in. And then I stare them in the face.
Well, that goes that question. Daniel, you've been doing comedy for a decade.
Yes.
And more recently, your humor is parent-themed, quote-unquote parent-themed. What was your inspiration before being a parent?
Before being a parent, it was my own life still. Like, it was always, a lot of what I was doing was taking like extreme situations I had as a kid, whether it's like something traumatic, and trying to make that funny, which was kind of what I was doing as a kid anyways. And so it would be talking about things that, whether it's like my dad leaving, or like my, addiction problems in the family or something. That was always the route I was going anyways. And then when I had a kid, that's when you have a kid, you're in it. That's all there is. If I'm writing comedy about anything else, that's crazy, because there's nothing else going on around me. And I always thought I wouldn't be the comic who talked about his kid or talked about being a parent. I said, that's not for me. I'm going to be cool and edgy. And then I had a kid, and I'm like, well, I I can't. I have nothing else going on. This is all I have.
Is that form of comedy or that style of comedy writing, is it really very much write what you know?
Yeah, I think so.
So if you were to take the idea that your child might see this work in the future, you have a boy, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How much do you want to not embarrass him, also combined with you want to make sure that he's embarrassed?
Yeah. So I think about this a lot, like all the time. I had I don't know if can we cut stuff if you want it out?
As long as they're all, yeah, of course.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
they'll go nuts. Go nuts.
Yeah, okay. During the pandemic, when my son was about 1, I got COVID when it was like, you're separated from your family.
Yeah.
And so I was just in a room for 10 days on my own.
That sounds like a vacation.
It was, when you have a little baby, that was pretty good.
Okay.
It was pretty good. But I was in there and I was like, you know what? I've got nothing to do. I have these gummies. I never take any cannabis at all. But I was like, yeah, I got time. Took it and had the most existential crisis about material I was writing about my kid.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, he's going to get older. He's going to see this. His friends are going to see it. They're going to start bullying him. His whole life's going to change. He's never going to find someone who loves him because of me making this one joke. And I just was spiraling. I'm texting my wife, just, please, am I ruining the family? Tell me if I'm ruining the family. And sort of since then, I've been thinking about it more. And I always try and make, like, I joke about my kid, but I always make it at the end that I'm the dumb one.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one that is the punchline. Like, I'm reacting to a thing that every kid does in a way that's different than you're supposed to.
That's actually really smart. I like that. You make yourself the punchline
Yeah.
to sort of protect your child. I get that. That's cool. I dig that.
Thanks.
I dig that a lot. Daniel, you you've worked with some great Canadian comedians over the years.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite that you've worked with, or, in addition to that question, have any of them inspired you to just take your comedy to a different level?
Yes. Yeah, I would say, so I worked with Scott Thompson from Kids in the Hall, and I grew up, like, Kids in the Hall was on the TV all the time. We were watching Kids in the Hall, and that was really cool. We got to, I worked with him, kind of became friends with him because he needed some design work done and he needed a music video made. I helped him make the music video.
Cool.
And it was cool working with someone who is so far different from what I do.
Yeah.
Like, what he does and what the Kids in the Hall do is very much that improv acting side that I don't have that skill. So watching him do things and the rest of the Kids in the Hall was very inspiring, as after I already had started comedy, in the way of, like, so if I did like a little bit of that, like just took a little bit of that, maybe that's gonna level me up a little.
You pepper a little bit of what they have into your very funny work, and it's almost like a new form of your own comedy kind of comes to the surface.
Yeah, exactly. It was like seeing the crowd interactions and the way that it wasn't like crowd work, but it would be like Scott would just get into the crowd and like crawl across people. And I'm like, so that's possible. I don't know how I would do that, but something like that, just fitting it in would be really cool.
I'm no comedian and I don't know anything really about stand-up comedy or just comedy in general. I just know what I like and I know what I laugh at.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, anything is possible with comedy.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to put on my 2 Savage glasses.
Okay.
As we cut to a quick little break, Daniel, but don't go anywhere. I'm not going to go anywhere. We'll be right back.
This is By the Wayside, and we'll be right back.
warming up.
We can all do comedy, Daniel. Physical comedy. Daniel, tell me a joke. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome back to this episode of By the Wayside. With me, of course, is Daniel Shaw, comedian, stand-up comedian, comic. Funny enough, I just realized comic book shop. I don't know why it took me forever to piece that together, Daniel. I don't know. Daniel,
Yes.
You're a Canadian, so this question is specifically Canadian.
Yep.
Is there a benefit to being a Canadian when it comes to comedy?
Absolutely not. No benefit as far as the industry goes.
Okay.
Like, there's a benefit in growing up in Canada. I think we are some of the funniest people in the world. I think a lot of that has to do with like cold winters and stuff. We're inside, we have to talk to each other and be silly. Our industry does not have sort of the stepping stones to work your way up to something in Canada. There's in the States, you have your TV shows, you have your festivals, you have this support system that props up their best comedians. In Canada, we kind of have very little of that. We have smaller things, like we have some of the CBC stuff, we have debaters, but outside of that, I mean, there's not a whole lot. There's not a lot that people can aspire to do in Canada. If you ask people, often I'll ask people after a show and say, who's your favorite up-and-coming Canadian comic? And they will have no idea.
Yeah.
There's no one that they know of. They'll say somebody from the States. They'll say somebody that they see on a podcast that they like. But usually it's an American podcast, or it's something that it's just sort of the entertainment industry here. It feels like we have room to build something with the talent that we have and not outsourcing everybody to the States. Yeah.
I always remembered watching Just for Laughs in the early 90s. No, mid to late 90s when it was on whatever, the comedy station. It's been so long. But it was Jeremy Hotz was always one of my favorite Canadians. Favorite Canadian comedians. And even to this day, we still do the same jokes that he told back in the 90s. And seeing him in movies was always a really cool thing.
Yeah.
In the background of the movie My Favorite Martian with Jeff Daniels and Christopher Lloyd, he played, I think, a cameraman. And I remember seeing that movie in the theaters. And I'm like, that's Jeremy Hotz. He's my favorite Canadian comic. Anyway.
Yeah, and isn't that sad?
I think he had one line, maybe not even a line.
I think he had a line in Speed 2 also.
I've never seen Speed 2.
Yeah, I think he was in Speed 2 for a moment.
I'm gonna add that to my list. Yeah. Daniel, tell me a joke. Just kidding. Daniel.
Great bit.
Thank you very much. I worked hard on it. Ricky Gervais, internationally famous comic, says comedy is about empathy. Do you agree or disagree?
I think I agree. I agree that comedy can't be written out of hate or out of some sort of... you're appealing to people and you want them to feel something in relation to what you're saying. So it is definitely out of empathy. Now, was Ricky Gervais saying that as a defense for something that he
said? Yeah. In the context in which I recall him saying that, I think it was more of one of those internet videos where they say, what is comedy? And then they just asked a bunch of different comics.
Yeah.
A comedian's job isn't just to make people laugh. That's easy. That can be a reflex. I mean, you see some comedians that it's the rhythm. They could even throw in a fake punchline. They'd get a laugh. I think it's about making people think about it and why it's funny, and I think comedy is about empathy. I think, I can't laugh at people I don't like. I think you should never be above the audience. There's nothing remotely funny about seeing unfeasibly handsome, brilliant people come out and tell you why they're brilliant. I want to see a putz losing his way, falling over, and getting back up and dusting himself off. And
so you had mentioned earlier in the episode that you kind of make yourself the butt of the joke or
Yes.
the punchline. Do you feel that that's a form of empathy? Maybe not necessarily for you or the audience, but because you're doing it as a redirect for unintentionally for your child? Do you think that that's a way
that
to
would be a
empathize?
form of empathy. I think also it is for the audience. Like, there is a great feeling when you hit something that you're like, oh, these people feel the same thing about something I'm talking about. This was just rattling around in my head. I said it, and then they liked it, and they're on board, and I go, well, yeah, I have appealed to their empathy.
I like that. So comedy is about empathy.
Yes.
Maybe to you, but maybe obviously it's maybe that's more of a question that has so many different layers, because comedy could be about sympathy. Comedy could be about like sometimes, like when you're making fun of someone. What's the word of making fun of someone? I'm not saying
insulting.
Maybe comedy can be insulting.
There is insult, and like things like roasts are very mean, but it's nice when the person on the roast that you're roasting is usually in on the joke. Like, okay. There's very few times that they are just being mean to a guy for 40 minutes.
Welcome. By the way, our roast for you starts today. I brought out your dad. No, I'm just kidding.
He's back.
Your comedy's about to get worse. Daniel, you and I had talked off camera about how you started doing your comedy. There was a job involved, there was the pandemic involved. I know you've been doing it for 10 years. You do something other than comedy.
Yes.
What is it?
Yeah. It's so I do sort of anything visually creative in more of a advertisement sense. So I do graphic design, motion graphics. I actually teach a course for motion graphics at Georgian College.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. I didn't know that. In all my research, I did not see that.
I teach it's just a short course there for the graphic design program. And
what was the name of your company?
Shaw's Creative.
Shaw's Creative. I just wanted to make sure that you said it out loud so that when you say it, the editor puts it up right below you so that everyone can go and check you out at Shaw's Creative. 2 more questions for today's episode, Daniel. Is there a time when it is acceptable for the host of a TV show to ask you to tell a joke? I'm just kidding. Daniel, what's harder, parenting or standing up in front of a crowd never knowing the final outcome? Income too, maybe, but final outcome.
Income often. Yeah, parenting, 100% parenting. Being a parent is the hardest, most challenging thing. It's very rewarding and it's great, but there's so much thinking, there's so much planning, there's so much, how do we get this person to be able to live on their own and thrive on their own?
And your child is very young still.
He's 4, yes.
Well, I have a 15-year-old daughter, so yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no. See, that's harder than stand up.
Tell me about it. And I don't do stand up, but I can just tell you, parenting is a very, very difficult job. On top of everything that we've spoken about, Daniel, where can we find you online?
Yeah, mostly on Instagram at Daniel Shaw Comedy. I'm also on I have a website, shawscreative.com, for any of my visual art.
Awesome.
That's it, yeah.
Awesome. Daniel, thank you very much for coming in today to Wayside Comics and Cocktails, being a part of By the Wayside, the show whose mission statement is to introduce the audience to creative people. You are a creative person, also the first stand-up comedian / comic / comedian in general to be on the show. So thank you very much for breaking that mold. Daniel, you stay right here. We got a little bit more left in this episode, and you stick around because we have a fun little new segment that we're doing on By the Wayside. I'm your host, Jordan Middlebrook. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to this episode of By the Wayside. Like I had said right before we went to that quick little black screen, there's a little fun little new segment that I'm doing here on By the Wayside. It is called D20 Questions. Now, what we're going to do here, Daniel, is I have 2 questions that I potentially could ask you. One of 2 questions. One is a silly question. One is a don't look. One is a silly question or a serious question. All right, you can look now.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is I'm going to get you to roll what we refer to in the industry as a D20, which is a 20-sided dice. If you roll between 1 and 10, I will ask you the serious question.
Okay.
And if you roll between 11 and 20, like 11 through 20, I will ask you the silly question.
Okay.
So it's all chance, of course. So you get one. I'm not gonna do the math. So I'm gonna get you to roll it. But while we're doing that, no, you're more than welcome to pick it up. I'm just gonna take, because we're so low budget here, I'm gonna take a video of you rolling it from my perspective, just so I can cut and splice and do all the fun things.
Absolutely.
All right, Daniel. So I'm gonna get you to roll it for me. And we have a 2. Okay, so you got a 2. Okay, let me just turn that up now.
Is that serious?
Is that what I said?
I don't remember.
Yes. I don't remember the rules
Play
of my
it
game.
back.
1 through 10 is a serious question.
Okay.
So let me ask you this before I ask you this. Are you scared?
Yeah. I'm terrified.
Daniel. I'm very excited about this.
Okay.
Is there a joke that you regret telling?
No. There's jokes that I don't like that I don't tell anymore, but I don't regret telling any jokes just because that's how you learn a joke is bad. Like, you tell the joke, if people hate it and you don't feel like you can stand behind it, you know now that's a bad joke. It's unfortunate that sometimes that it could upset someone or make someone feel bad, but that's a learning experience for the comic. It's like, oh, that joke is not the joke I thought it was in my head.
When you are telling a joke that potentially could be offensive or that somebody doesn't like, I understand that comedy and offensive, they do go hand in hand, but jokes are still literally just jokes.
Yes.
I get that. I understand that. Do you feel bad when you tell a joke that offends somebody?
It depends on the joke. Like, it depends if they misinterpreted my intention. If the joke was me trying to make light of something and I'm just not able to figure out the funny way to make it funny, like I just missed, and that's offensive to someone, then I do feel bad. Yeah.
If comedy is about empathy, is comedy also subjective?
It's 100% subjective. Yeah. There's so many comedians that before I did comedy, I didn't appreciate their work at all. I would see them, I'd be like, that's not funny, not for me. And then as I got into it, I'd say, oh, that's actually a huge talent. And I understand why other people liked them so much. But it's still, again, not for me, but I understand that it is, it's very subjective.
Interesting. I never thought about that. You actually see, as you get into the minutia of how a joke is made, you can see how another professional builds that joke, and you go, oh, I appreciate the work that they put into it, whether or not you like the joke or the comedy. It's the work that's gone into it, and the thought process is actually really, really good, and you respect them for what they've done to create that joke.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. That's interesting. I like when professionals can respect other professionals. It's
Totally,
not a me versus you kind of mentality. It's an everyone works. It's a win-win situation. It's always a win-win situation.
That's how I've always felt. Yeah.
I like that, Daniel. Positivity makes the world go around. And Daniel, I'm not going to ask you the silly question.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you a joke.
Okay.
Now, I'm not a funny person.
I disagree.
I'm not very good with creating jokes. So the internet helped me with this.
Okay.
Daniel.
Yeah.
What did one hat say to the other?
I don't know.
You stay here, I'll go on ahead. Thank you very much. Bye. If there's one thing that we all need to know about every episode of By the Wayside, is that it is too savage. Get it? It's the name of the brand. It's the brand of the glasses. I love the glasses. Just throwing that out there. Just love the glasses. That's why they're just kind of sitting around, trying out a thing. I want to thank my guest, of course, Daniel Shaw, for being a part of today's episode. Also, I don't want you to forget that if you wanted to sponsor an episode, you can definitely reach out to me directly by sending a distinguished message through Instagram, of course. We'll get to those socials in a second. Or the email address. There is definitely an email address that will pop up at some point. And I know this because I handle all of the graphics, the editing, the guest booking, the hosting, and the capturing of locations, which of course is at Wayside Comics and Cocktails in Newmarket, Ontario. If you are in the neighborhood, I encourage you to come and check it out. If you're not in the neighborhood, I encourage you to come to this neighborhood and check out Wayside Comics and Cocktails. Let's do the social media stuff. I don't know why my chair's all weird. Let's shift this way. Here is all the social media, of course, that I want you to like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, do all those amazing things. Every time you do something like that, I get a notification, and it reminds me that what I'm doing is absolutely great. Well, whether or not it's great or not, it makes me feel really good. Let's just be quite honest. It's a nice, small little hit of dopamine that gets me through the day. I said it in my best radio voice. Did I miss anything? Wayside Comics and Cocktails. This whole episode, of course, Wayside Comics and Cocktails. Don't forget to check out Wayside Creative, which is an integral part of this show. It is a female-led run creative publishing imprint that focuses on cinematic storytelling from people like you. Much like By the Wayside, the show that you're watching right now, is a show that is dedicated to introducing creative people to you, the audience. I said that like all backwards. I got all confused for a second there. I'm your host, Jordan Middlebrook, of course, and I want to thank you for being a part of the show. I want to thank Daniel Shaw again. I want to thank Omar Sayer for letting me record here at Wayside Comics and Cocktails, and I will catch you by the wayside.